would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which I live and work, the Gundagara land and people. I pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. I also want to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands on which you, our listeners, are joining us from today. I recognise the deep connection that First Nations people have to this land, their enduring culture, and their commitment to the preservation and care for their country. This land was never ceded, and it always was and always will be Aboriginal land. Hey there, and welcome to Beyond the Surface, the podcast where we explore the stories of people who have survived religious trauma, left high control or cult communities, and are deconstructing their faith. I'm your host, Sam, and each week I'll talk with individuals who have taken the brave step to start shifting their beliefs that might have once controlled and defined their lives. Join us as we dig into their experiences, the challenges they've faced, and the insights they've gained. Whether you're on a similar journey or you're just curious about these powerful stories, you're in the right place. This is Beyond the Surface.
Okay, let's talk about the parenting and shift into a completely different avenue. You've already sort of like highlighted and thrown around a few different things about the kids in last week's episode, but for some context, tell us a little bit what kids looks like in your home and what the family structure looks like to the point that you both are comfy and obviously the kids are comfy because consent matters even when they're kids. Just FYI for everybody listening. But I'm asking that knowing that there is a bit of context that some of the kids spent a lot of time in church and others didn't so much. And so what did that look like in your family?
The oldest two spent most of their lives up to about the age of 5 or 6 in church. And we then, even post-church, we sent them to a Christian school, like a Baptist Christian school.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until there were a few things that, like, we were kind of okay with it. Like, we were like, chew the meat, spit out the bones.
Yeah.
And then there were just a few instances where they came home and we were like, actually, we're not comfortable with that. We were having our third kid, actually, and the Christian Baptist school was a long way from our house and it was a bit of a trek every day. And we thought a third kid in the mix is going to also compound that just the physical dynamic, like the logistics dynamic of getting the kids to school. But then there was some stuff going on at school, like for us personally, that we didn't. It was a bit. It was a bit fundamentalist in its approach, which we were really moving our lives away from. And so, we kind of pulled them out of that. And then we've always, it's interesting because Liz has probably talked about this, but our youngest has had zero church.
Yeah. Full heathen.
I love this kid already.
You would love him. Everyone loves him.
He is like crazy wild. Like you kind of feel like the kid thing's going to get easier. Like as you experience the difficulty. I know what I've experienced now. Like he's just a whole different dynamic.
He breaks all the rules.
And
which is beautiful.
He's an Aquarius, and so and it's got a lot of Aquarius in his houses and whatever the things are, and like he brings out Aquarius. Aquarians are like fuck shit up. Like they are the names of their own selves, and
he'll rule the world one day.
No, he'll just do whatever he
wants. He'll just do what he wants.
He'll
think he'll rule the world.
He'll throw himself off rooftops, abseil and skydive. He's just absolutely crazy. But at the same time, he loves home and he feels he needs the security of the home. It's so weird because he's like this rebellious, but also
he's such a lover.
But and it's interesting because we've just sent him to a private Catholic school and he's coming home going, we went to church today and I got the ash on my forehead and like
No. So we've just been to Bali, and in a lot of the restaurants and stuff, they'll have as a decoration a little bowl of water with a flower in it. And it's a very spiritual place. So Ollie's just been to Easter at his Catholic school and they've done the Ash Wednesday Mark of the Cross. So whenever we went to a cafe in Bali and they had this water, he would go, ooh, holy water. And he'd dip his finger in the water and do the cross on his forehead, and then like sprinkle everybody, and then be like, if you don't believe in Jesus, you're going to go to hell. Like, you know, so it's very,
oh my
very
gosh.
Funny. We had 2 kids
Yeah.
close together, a boy and a girl. We were done. We were very smug about it, but
didn't do anything practically.
Because I was quite chronically ill, and I thought it could have been any number of things contributing to that illness. So I went off all forms of contraception and didn't think that I could even get pregnant because my period. We could go into all of that history, but we don't need to. And we kind of got pregnant, and I fell pregnant, and was absolutely terrified. And because there's a big gap. What's the gap?
Also, the middle child, she was in school.
Both the kids were in school,
sleeping in her own bed.
I mean, you're restarting all over again.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We got rid of all the car seats and baby stuff and all that kind of stuff. And
everything.
We went back to sleepless nights. Like, we were getting full nights of sleep and
stuff.
Well,
I had chronic insomnia when I was ill. So part of having a baby again, I thought, I've just gotten my health back together. I've just started sleeping. And now, but then I allowed myself to feel what I felt. And then he came along.
One of the things we considered like an abortion, like it was interesting because you're navigating your post-Christian worldview going, well, and I personally were fine with it, but I just felt with our youngest that he was meant to be here. He was a surprise.
There was something quite divine about it.
And so I didn't want to go. I mean, probably wouldn't hesitate now.
Okay. It's a lot of information.
We're not having a fourth in the Milani household.
But no, he was quite the surprise. And I was very scared at the beginning, and we both were. But he has just been an absolute fuck shit up type of delight.
Love it.
Yeah.
And the more like he was a rerun for me too. Like I could.
This is a good point. Yeah.
The first 2 kids, I was just involved in church life or work, and so Liz kind of like I just handed the responsibility to Liz, and I went and did all the stuff.
Well, Jesse, you were working 70-hour weeks.
Yeah, some weeks it was ridiculous. And then I felt like, with our youngest, I can do all the things that I didn't. So like I literally from the day he was born, I walked with him every day on my chest, like with a
ergo,
whatever the thing is called. I don't think you did one swimming lesson with him, did you?
I did a couple.
Did you? Okay.
No, I don't think I did actually. I don't think I did any.
He won't sleep with me. He was like breastfed until he was 4. He's so like, and it was so hard to get off the boot. Like, so, and loves his mum so much. But so anything that I could do for him that he absolutely wouldn't refuse me doing it. Like, if I can lay, like, still even today though, like I'll try and lay in bed with him, and he'll lay with me for 2 minutes. He's like, I want mum. But like swimming lessons, I ride him to school on the back of the bike. Like I try while the kids are at school, and I would have, we'd call daddy daycare day. So one day a week we do swimming lessons, and we just do anything we want. We go park hopping, we go to, and I just never did that with the other kids, and it was unreal. Like
it was nice. It was a chance to do some things. When the other 2 were born, the older 2, my dad left when my eldest was 4 months old, and then we left church when our middle daughter was like 2 or something like that. So we were experiencing very high levels of stress when they were very, very little. And very traumatic things when they were very, very little. And so the chance to experience parenthood, like a newborn baby world again in a different way and in a different environment, was very healing for both of us in different ways.
That's changed my perspective of parenthood too.
Yeah.
I mean, how did it impact, we talked about the big emotional fallout and like the storm, so to speak, in the other episode, but how did that impact the parenting and the way that you parented, and also because I know that, you know, one of the biggest things is like depending on the age of the child, like what do we tell? There's so much chaos and change happening. Like, how do we tell them in a way that is age appropriate, developmental, all of those sorts of things that means that they don't start absorbing all of this themselves, but also they're part of the family as well, and they're seeing and experiencing the change as well. And so, how did you do that with your eldest two when it was all sort of happening over that number of years?
Yeah, it was a really interesting experience. Because growing up in my house, I never saw my parents fight ever.
Yeah.
And I never heard them have serious conversations about marriage and family. I would hear some like tantrums being thrown, but more that was more about outside situations, you know, members of the congregation. And the atmosphere of my home was very highly stressed, but nobody talked about anything.
Yeah.
And so even when we were in the church, we wanted a different experience for our kids. And I guess another lucky thing that happened to us is our eldest really didn't like event style church. So when he was a toddler, that's when we got smoke machines at church and lights, and the music was really, really loud. He just hated all of that. And so I ended up in the creche or in the foyer with him a lot of the time anyway, because it was just sensory overload. And I guess that really helped me question things from, we do it like this, but it's not for everybody. Like it wasn't like he was like, take me back to church, Mum, I miss it so much. You know, it was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
And also I was told what I had to believe. I remember when I was a teenager going, I don't want to go to church. And the response was, well, if you're under my roof, you will believe this and you will come to church. And I just wanted to have more faith in my kids than that. And so we did things a little bit differently.
And I think like, because you can tell by this podcast so far, we're very much talkers and communicators. So we weren't afraid to have open conversations at home with each other in front of the kids. Like obviously if something wasn't age appropriate, we wouldn't talk about it, but like mostly everything was somewhat age appropriate. And I want them to see us going through our highs and our lows, because that's how they learn resilience. You can see it if you just look around enough, you can see kids replicating their parents and the upbringing they had because of what they see, you know what I mean? Like, so we had to demonstrate to them resilience is talking, communicating, you know, puzzling over the problem. And
well, I just remember like being completely humiliated when my parents split up and not seeing it coming. And I just didn't want my kids to be bamboozled like that. I felt bamboozled and I felt humiliated. And so when my dad left, even because that was a hot topic for many, many years, and, you know, we lived with my mum and there was lots of family dynamics to navigate. I think in the beginning I was too exhausted to hide it from them. I couldn't save face. And there was so much crying happening in the house from different family members. There was no hiding. Even if I tried, I just would have been even more exhausting myself. So I lost the will to save face pretty early on, because I was already traumatized and exhausted myself. And we probably crossed the line. We may have overcorrected a few times, but we've always told the truth when the kids would ask about their grandfather or my dad. We would be age appropriate, truthful, you know, with them about that situation. And then when the kids started asking more questions, well, like if Nana and Granddad separated, are you guys going to get divorced? And I think the first inkling when you have kids is to protect them. And you want to go, no, of course we're never going to get divorced. But because that feeling of humiliation was so strong for me in not seeing it coming from my parents, I would always, and then having your parents were divorced when you were young as well, I just would say to them, look, the plan is that we're going to stay together forever, but there are no guarantees. But you will always be loved, and we will always try and work everything out. I felt like that saying something along those, which we've always said to them.
Led the charge in that.
Was more
But like I saw the wisdom in it, and so yeah.
I just didn't. Yeah, I couldn't not. Again, it was just I was so bamboozled. My parents never fought, and my dad had been cheating on mum since I was like 2 or 3 months old. So I didn't want them to have that experience. That informed me so much. That, you know, then when it was, well, do you believe in God? Like all of that idea of being truthful and honest with the kids, and then letting them ask questions and find their own place, being brought up with not being allowed to think anything other than what I was told to think. I had lots of secret obsessions, lots of secret ideas that I never told anybody in fear of getting in trouble. And I just did not want that. The wanting my kids to be free don't know how to say this properly, overrode the idea of wanting my kids to be perfect or to have a perfect answer.
And I mean, I think there's a lot of parents out there who will say things, and I have parents sitting in my office going like, I want my kids to be able to ask questions. I want them to be able to come to me with those things. And yet they're not all the time. And so, like, practically speaking, like, how did you create that environment for them as parents so that they could come to you and ask those questions, and particularly those big sort of like existential questions around like God and religion and faith and spirituality and all of that sort of thing?
Yeah, it's a practice. Like it's one of those stupid and nauseating answers where there is no answer. You just have to do the hard shit every day.
Yeah, you can start with the small. I think it's starting with the small things, like allowing your kids to come to you with the small stuff.
Yeah.
You know, builds up to asking and being okay with it, and not being surprised by things. We, you know, often kids have asked us questions, and we've had to hide our surprise in the question. Free to come and ask. Do you know what I'm saying? Like
the first biggest one for me was when our eldest realized that people die.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to get emotional thinking about it, but I'll never forget it. Because he would sleep on the top bunk, and I just heard him cry, like sobbing. Do you remember? And he just realized that one day we're going to die, and it's devastating for them. And I don't remember having that moment with my parents, because I think it was the focus on heaven was just so great that it shut up everybody's questions. And even the thought of being afraid of death was, well, you don't have any faith if you're afraid of death because you're going to go to heaven. But when he was having this moment, such an emotional moment about death, I couldn't dismiss it. And I couldn't lie. I couldn't bring myself to lie to him. And I think in that moment, I didn't even know what I was really doing. I didn't know that it was some wise, good thing. I think I was just like, I've got a choice. I can either make this quick so I can get out of here and he stops crying and we feel comfortable, or I can be present. I can like just show up to what's happening. And I said, yep, one day I'll die and you'll die and everybody you love will die. And it's really sad.
In the same way, Liz is always like, the plan is that we live for a really long time, but we have no ideas. Like, we have no guarantees. That's been the consistent answer that we've given our kids whenever they've asked us about death and us dying. I remember the older one coming out in the middle of the night, probably about age 6, and saying, he started to find his own spirituality from a young age. And so,
he's quite an old soul. Like and
we've always felt that. And even into his teenage years, he continues to show us that he's an old soul, very wise. But I remember him coming out at age 6 and he was crying again. And he's like, what are you crying for, bud? And he's like, I don't want to go to heaven. Like, what?
Same kid. Same.
And like, what? He's like, I can't stand the idea of being somewhere forever. It sounds
like a prison.
Sounds horrible to me. Like and so he's like, what else can I believe? And so we kind of just opened up some interpretations, and he's really feels settled with this idea of reincarnation. And so we're like, you believe that? Like,
And I mean, we'd only just started deconstructing at the time. But I think because we were able to be honest with each other about how harmful some of our upbringings were in the fundamentalist mechanism of belief,
Yeah.
that we were able to give the kids a bit of rope. I think a lot of parenting is done from a place of fear.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people who keep their kids in church, they purely do it so that they don't, their idea is, well, if they're in church, they're less likely to try drugs, drink, have sex before married, they're trying to behavior modify and control the best way that they know how, like in things that worked for them. But like I even said in our podcast about marriage, all purity culture did for me was make me too afraid to have sex before marriage. It wasn't a healthy, conscious choice that I made. It was out of fear. And I think a lot of people, there's a lot, like being a parent is such a terrifying thing to do. And the temptation to parent out of that fear is real, especially when this day and age when both parents have to work because you can't afford to live on one income. And so there's even our time preference is so low to be able to talk to our children about the big topics and let them explore and to stay up late at night. Like, we live in such an urgent society where if the kid gets up at 2 a.m. crying, saying, I don't want to go to heaven, it's just like, go back to bed. We all need sleep. Like, so it's a really hard gig to parent these days. And I think fear drives a lot of that parenting, fear and low time preference. But
And so
I've lost my train of thought.
That's okay. It's all right. Most of the time after I ask a question, it's out of my head and I wouldn't remember it even if I tried. But I mean, some of those big topic conversations are also connected to your own stuff and your own conditioning and all of that you've received as well. And so how do you then have those conversations in a way that honors where you're at, but also honors what the kids need in terms of conversations around sex and consent and alcohol and drugs and, like bodily autonomy and, all of those different things that you just don't get in those high control spaces, whilst also knowing that this is also kind of like some of my own shit that I'm having to have conversations about.
Oh, yeah. Do you want to or do you want me to? Okay. One of the things that we had to learn early on between each other when we were deconstructing was trust.
Yeah.
And I think what's really hard to do as a parent is to trust your kid. And I was never taught to trust my kids. I wasn't trusted as a child either. So, and maybe being a woman, we have a unique experience of this as well, of not being believed, of being seen as overly emotional and sensitive. And so everything that we say gets taken down a notch or two. And I just didn't want our children to have that experience. And I allowed that to really inform how I approached their questions. But in saying that, our eldest I've had this experience in different ways with the older two. He woke up again one night and said, I don't believe in God, I'm an atheist. And I wouldn't have categorized myself as a Christian when he said that to myself. A lot of people probably would have, but I still considered myself very spiritual, had beliefs around Jesus and God, and I didn't want him to be an atheist. My, desire for him, my default desire, because I got a lot of value out of my spirituality, I didn't want him to be an atheist, but I really had to trust. If I show him, he probably would have been 10 when he said that. But if I can show him, mate, you believe and I just remember so much being told, you will go to church and you will believe what I believe, and not having any of that freedom. And I still turned out okay in the end. Like, what if I gave my kid a little bit of freedom? What if I said to him, be an atheist, honey? Like, he's 10. It's not set and forget at 10. Hasn't even lived a life yet. Like, probably doesn't even really understand fully what he's saying. And I'm like, oh, so, you don't believe in God? No, I just can't see how God exists. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. And I'm like, well, what does make sense to you? Like, what other things could make sense? I think we get so fixated on what's right and what's wrong, like the cut and dry. We don't explore in and around it, because often when children say things, it could be close to what they're trying to say, but not spot on, because they don't have the experience or the language, all the tools to fully explain what they're feeling in their body, what they're thinking about in their minds, and the convergence of the two. So you've got to do some work on trying to tease out what it is they actually mean and what they're actually trying to say. I think what our eldest was trying to say in that moment, his understanding of God up until that point, which was largely informed by the Christian school that he went to, and the first 5 years of his life in church, he couldn't reconcile. And that wasn't a set and forget thing. So when you can let go of the fear and your I don't know, your ideas on what you want for your kid, and understand that they are their own person, and figuring out their autonomy, both bodily and intellectually, begins the day that they're born, not when they're 18 and they become an adult. Like, they learn this stuff now, and they can learn it safely in our homes by questioning, by saying things that
safety question, like being like our parenting, not just me, but I mean all of us as parents will dictate whether they feel safe or not to ask questions in the home environment. And it's really important to make them feel safe when they question things. I'm definitely a question asker. I challenge things and am critical in my thought about things. And so, like, I would want that for my child. I want them to think. I don't want to tell them what I've discovered. And I think one of the things that we always find is, usually I look at my parents and I'm like, why the fuck didn't they do a better job of parenting me? And also I recognize that when my eldest grows up and all my kids grow up, at some point they're going to go, why the fuck didn't my parents parent me better? Because they've got more access to information, better quality, understanding how the brain works, the body works, everything works. That's naturally going to happen. So we've got to allow, like, I can't prevent that. Like, I don't want them. I'd actually feel like I probably failed if we get to the point where they're like, oh, I've had the perfect parents or whatever. Like, I think it's really important that because that means they've evolved to the next level, and they're going to take the human experience for society to the next level, if that makes sense. So
I mean, but part of that, like, as you're talking, I'm going, part of that requires like something within both of you to go, we also want them to question us as well, like, and to ask us questions. And that's just like not allowed in church spaces, because like the parents are the head of the house, right? And you don't question them, and you don't get to go, well, why? Like, why is that rule in place? Why are you telling me that I can't do that? And just, giving them permission to even do that is huge in itself. But that requires something of both of you as well, right?
Oh, look, it's so annoying because we've raised these kids who question.
Push against
and so
us.
now we're like, clean your room. Why? What's it mean? Why? Like, why? So, like,
why do I have to do that?
We're still figuring it out. Like, we've never had teenagers before, so we're figuring it out as we go. But like, I think some of my core memories as a child inform why I do what I do. And I often say this to my friends and to Milani, and I say it to other mums whose kids are in the same kind of crossroads that my teenagers are at the moment. I remember being 16, blackout drunk in the back of someone's car, no idea who. And I remember coming to in this car. My best friend was in the front seat. Then I blacked out again, and I woke up on a farm. And in a chair. No idea how I got in that chair. And then I blacked out again. And the scariest thing about that was not that I blacked out in a strange place, was that I knew I could not call home for help if I was in trouble. And I just knew all through those, because kids, the way that they learn is to mess up and fail and try again. Like, trial and error experience is how we learn. We can lecture and we can tell people what to do all we want. But even for my life, for your life, for our lives, we learn through experience. And so I just was so afraid. I knew I could never call home, and I didn't want that experience for my kids. But for them to trust me enough for them to be able to come to me when they know when they're doing something wrong and they could potentially be in trouble, that takes work to get to.
Yeah.
And so you've got to allow them to have independent thought, to be able to voice what they think without being shut down. If they can't do that, they're not coming to you about anything. So there's some risk and some uncomfortability that you have to wade into to be able to have this experience with your kids. And it is really annoying. Like, it's so annoying when they question, but also really important.
And the natural imperative, I mean, I'm not sure, like, we're a bit older as parents now. Probably younger parents are a bit more aware of this from a psychological standpoint. But the default tendency is when a kid doesn't do what you say is to clip their wings. Like, and it's challenging to go, hey, it's challenging within yourself to say, this is a really good personality trait of them, because they're going to question the world, not just take the world hook, line and sinker and then submit themselves. Like, so them pushing back on you at home is really good practice for them when they go out into the world.
Back in the world.
So, which is important for them to be critical thinkers and to question things and to forge their own identity in a true self way in the world around them.
Well, and I think deconstruction really taught us how to do that, because that's when we really started questioning our church leaders. We started questioning our beliefs. Then that translated into questioning society, questioning why some rules are in place, and feeling like we can. It's actually our responsibility to do that, not that we're problematic that we do that. So it helped deconstructing and adopting some of those practices to then translate it into parenting. I mean, look, we're not perfect.
We're not perfect.
Our neighbours, when we first moved in here, had a massive couple of hours long, session with one of the children that everybody in the neighborhood got to hear. So, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, but I think if you do the hard work and you could be bothered to fight with your kids a little bit, to tussle it out with your kids a little bit, to let them be a bit disruptive, it does pay off. Because now our eldest is making some pretty big life decisions and is, coming to that place where he's really figuring out who he is. And he's got some gumption. He's got some runs on the board. He's knows what his values are, or he's like doing some good things to try and figure out what his values are and what he wants. And he's not afraid that he's going to get it wrong as much as what we might have been when we were kids. So
it's like a really good metaphor is like when you have a toddler, you stand there and you watch them walk and you're there to catch them if they fall. Sometimes you kind of let them fall a little bit so they get the feeling of falling and hurting themselves. And then you're there to pick up the pieces. And I think that's essentially what happens at home. If they can ask questions, you can help them ask questions in a healthy way.
Well, and I think too, sorry, Sam, we're just talking again. But I think like a big issue in society that I feel we have is this inability to be uncomfortable or to be in pain. And nobody wants to be in pain. I want to be well 100% of the time. But when you are in pain, wanting to get better in a flash, wanting a silver bullet, that's not how you build health and wholeness in your life. I think the most healthy and wholesome one can be is to let the rhythms happen, to ride the highs and the lows, to enjoy when you're comfortable, and to learn to be present with it when you're uncomfortable. Problem with kids is that we try to control them. We don't want them to experience pain because they're precious and wonderful, and it's heartbreaking when they experience pain. And on the flip side, it's inconvenient because we're busy, we're all time poor, we've all got multi-focuses. So to have a child having a meltdown and some existential crisis at 10 may seem insignificant to us, but for them, it's everything. And letting them be in pain. When the eldest was like, everyone's going to die, I could have said, oh no, like there's heaven.
Bypass it. Yeah.
Bypass it. But to go, and it sucks. And I hate that we're going to die. Then my middle child recently went through a little breakup and is devastated. And the temptation to go, it was nothing. You're a
Play,
kid. Like,
yeah,
it didn't
play more
mean
fish in the
anything.
sea.
Like high school drama. Like, get
Yeah.
over it. But it's meaningful to. It's their whole world,
It's
and
just
just
you
to
in her
go like,
face, like for her,
Yes.
even though it's small to us, we can hold it back here.
Absolutely.
It's up to
just
you
to
in
go
her
like,
face, so.
when we were away, I found her. I know she wouldn't mind me saying this, so it's okay. Found her crying, and I'm like, "What's wrong?" And she's like, "I just really miss this person." And I'm like, "I'm so sorry. That sucks."
Yeah.
Like, to let them have that. I think sometimes we get so busy trying to make everything perfect for them, and there's so many reasons why we do that, like culturally, society, like our societal pressures and all of the different influences that are on us. But just to let our kids be messy, let them be uncomfortable. It's not dangerous to let them have those experiences.
Yeah.
And that's what actually builds resilience.
Yeah, I
Not
mean, well, you're also
protection.
helping them build a regulated nervous system, right? Like a regulated
Yeah.
nervous system is not like flatlined, that's death. Like
Exactly.
it's like it's going to be up and down, and it's being able to sit with the up and down and to not be consumed by it. And so like it's also letting them know that like when you don't bypass the pain, you still survive it. It's not going to
Exactly.
consume you. You are not going to, be in this place forever. But if you never experience that, then that's the perception you are potentially going to age with as you get older,
Yeah.
when there are big, massive, life-changing situations that happen and you don't have any skills to regulate your nervous system through that pain, which is why
Yeah.
I have a whole podcast of people who landed in those spaces, including us. So, like,
Including us.
yeah, exactly. So,
I mean, I was just told to pray about everything and bring
yeah,
everything to Jesus.
yeah,
And that has landed me. I can't remember if I said it on your podcast or to a friend. I just felt like a child in my
yeah,
mid-30s, learning everything for the first time, learning how to regulate my nervous system,
yeah,
learning how to be critically aware and to question things, learning how to be emotionally intelligent. Like,
yeah,
I prayed about everything, gave everything to God, just wished and hoped, tired. That was my part.
yeah,
So I want my kids to grow up with some tools
yeah.
so that what they go through, I want them to have a healthy sense of self,
Mm,
a sense of connection to their environment, to people, the earth, whatever they
yeah,
want to call God,
yeah.
because I think that helps them be integrated beings and not just purely focused on themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I want them to be able to ask questions. So those things together, I think those values, when you can figure out what your values are
Yeah.
and what you want for your kids, that really helps you
Mm,
navigate some of these trickier situations
yeah.
a little more consciously.
Well, we call it the human experience.
Yeah.
So the human experience isn't holidays and good times. It's heartbreak, it's sorrow, it's pain, it's
Mm,
breaking your arm,
yeah.
it's being violently ill in bed for 3 days. Uh, and it's interesting if you can. I think post my Christianity, I've landed on there's a sense of oneness outside of the human experience.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard, who's that guy, that Irish,
John O'Donoghue.
no, Peter, what's his name?
Oh,
Pete, Ian? No, not
it's
Pete
not Peter
Enns,
Oh,
Enns.
another, anyway, there's an
There's a
Irish,
guy. He's
there's an
Irish
Irish
and his name's
guy,
Pete.
Rob Bell used to have him in his podcast a bit. Anyway, I remember he actually came to Australia and I went and saw him and he said, he was very, very philosophical, like came from a very philosophical understanding, like would unpack the Christian experience in a really philosophical way and then try and like explain it in a secular way. But what I remember him saying at this one event that I went and saw him at, he said, if heaven is utter bliss, if it's like an orgasm after an orgasm after an orgasm after an orgasm after an orgasm,
mm-hmm.
at some point that's going to become really tiresome
Yeah.
and not very joyful.
Sounds fucking exhausting, to be fair.
Exhausting.
Right. And so I like it really gave, I was like, that's actually what the oneness experience would be like if we're all this one big pool of joy, like then at some point there would be a desire in the universe, all oneness, to experience some form of separateness,
so that it could understand what the joy, like it would have a, and so that's what the human, to me, in my mind, that's what the human experience
is. It's a universe experiencing itself, which means you've got to have the low. You've got to be in bed for 3 days on a Bali holiday, coming out of both ends and and feeling like absolute shit to understand what it feels like to sit in the sunlight on a beautiful day. Do you know what I mean? And so then if we don't teach our kids that, if we shelter our kids from the how are they going to understand what it's like to have the human experience? Yeah. So that's my.
Yeah. And so then, I mean, that's prompted a different question than what I was going to ask before, but I'll go back to that. Because then how do you balance, like within your family, how do you balance protecting them and also allowing them to experience at the same time? Because, and also not overcorrecting in that space, because that's a whole lot of like tightrope balance.
Well, I think first thing is, you got to recognize that you're imperfect, so you're never going to get it right. So sometimes you're going to be on the tightrope and you're going to fall off the tightrope, and other times you're going to be like holding on to them too tight on the tightrope. You know what I mean? Like it's this and that's okay. You got to give yourself the grace, and you got to give them the grace.
Well, and practically speaking too, like we always say to our children, you're allowed to push back, but you need to be respectful.
Yeah.
So you can say, I don't agree with you, but we're not having a yelling match. We're gonna sit down and we're gonna talk about this. And we went through this a little bit ago with one of the kids. We said no to something that they wanted and they didn't understand.
Yeah.
So I think really always have your why ready and be able to explain it to them. Yeah. And I had to explain to them, I've never had someone your age before, and I've never been through this before, and this is the best way I know how to navigate this, and this is why A, B, C, D.
What is really important, I think, like if your boss, if you work in an environment and your boss says do this job, and you're like why, and they say don't ask me why, just do it.
Yeah.
What kind of respect do you have for the boss? Like you don't have. If the boss can go, well, I do it because of this reason and this reason and this reason. Like, I understand that, or I don't agree with that, but if you want it that way, perhaps could we do it this way? Like there's that bit of it's on the table, everything's open for negotiation with some logic, and
there's a collaboration there.
Collaboration. Yeah. But even at the end of the day, like I said to our kid, I said, like, I don't know if I'm making the right choice or not. This is what my instinct tells me, and this is why. But because I bothered to, in a calm manner, have the conversation, they're going to feel loved at the end of the day. They might not agree with my choice.
Yeah.
And they might grow up and be on a podcast one day and say, my parents did this to me.
I'll book them in like 10 years time, 20 years time to chat to them.
But they'll be able to say, but my mum sat me down and she said, I'm doing this because I love you, and this is the best way I know how to get, to go through this. And I do think there's bigger issues at play here. Families have never been more time poor.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of resources, but we also don't have a lot of resources. There's a real lack in the space of connection and support for real life matters and some of the nuance.
And because we are time poor, the tendency, the default position is like, I'll outsource that to church. Like the youth group can raise my kid. And I'll give them all the morals they need. Or I'll outsource them to school or whatever, or to society.
Or I'll just say no to my kid without an explanation because I'm too busy and I'm too tired. I've got to. I understand, and look, I've had those moments with them as well, because I just don't think we've ever lived in an age like this where we have been so unavailable to our kids, and I think it's a real problem. And I don't know how to fix it, and I feel terrible. Like I can't have a parenting conversation without mentioning that, because I feel like a lot of families really are.
Well, both are at work, then they've got to commute, and then they've got to pick the kids up for sport. Like they're
parenting with their hands behind their backs.
So, I mean, since the 70s, essentially, we've gone from one parent at home all the time. It's literally now to most households have both parents not at home, and so that is a really big problem.
Which we're not advocating for women not working.
No, not at all.
Have careers, feminists, whatever.
There's not even
I just mean there's a gap for kids.
Yeah.
There's not even a choice for one parent to be at home anymore. It just has to be both parents at work.
Yeah.
And so that
it's hard.
That's challenging for the parenting role. Like Liz said, you've got one hand or both hands tied behind your back trying to do this incredibly hard thing.
Yeah.
Have you both always been on the same page with like the way that you parented and like discipline and boundaries with the kids and things like that? Because I'm also thinking like throughout that deconstruction period, like discipline in the church with families looks very different, like for when those families come out of that space. And if you are at different points in your deconstruction with different beliefs and things like that, have you always been on the same page with the way that you've parented?
Nope.
We haven't
really been on the same page as anything. We're
never on the same page.
We're not even in the same fucking book.
No. Like we agree about a lot of things, but we've never been we've never been fully aligned with everything.
Yeah.
Since church, I would say, and even when we're at church, I think some of that was just masking and pushing down. Like definitely post-church, we've always had our own ideas. It's interesting. I feel like this is where society has to go. We have to be individuals or individuation.
Integrated individuals.
Integrated so that the collective can function. Mm-hmm. But that's how a marriage is, or a partnership is just a microcosm of the macrocosm. So like we have to figure out our own selves and who we are, and that's going to be different to another person. Mm-hmm. And we also have to figure out how to integrate that with other people in order to move forward as a society and humanity. So
I think the way that we navigate that, because we do have different ideas. I mean, I grew up being smacked like a lot of other Pentecostal children probably. Were you? Oh, yeah.
Yes, I grew up being smacked,
I mean, I had secular parents and I was still smacked.
Yeah, so it was very much something that happened back in that day and age, and that is not something that we do now and not something we've done in our own home. Yeah. Even when we were on staff pastors, I had a real hesitation about spanking my children. Yeah. I would get spanked in I'm doing this because I love you. I just never felt loved. I felt behavior controlled. So when it comes to discipline, we have different ideas and different we've come at things from different avenues. And I guess there's been times where I've said to Jessie, and I mean, our youngest has probably been the most challenging, where I've really got a feeling about this. Can you let me give this a try? Yeah. And vice versa, where we have these times where we're aligned and then kind of we move like this. And when we're like this, you really have to have the conversation of, this is what I think. Most of the time, both of us will have a why. Yeah. Sometimes it'll be an instinct, like I just really feel. And I guess it takes trust. The ebb and flow of trust. And then the ability to say, no, it didn't fucking work. So now it's your turn, which has happened before too.
Pass the button.
I want to caveat the whole trust thing, because we're throwing the word trust around a lot.
Yeah.
We say this to our kids. Like we was literally saying this to our youngest this morning.
After he pocketed a heap of my money to take to the canteen.
Oh, bless.
Yeah. So, and we said this to all our kids, trust is a wall that you build with every little decision and choice. You're putting a brick in the wall, and then you can knock a whole bunch of those bricks out with one decision. And sometimes you can knock the whole wall down with one decision. Yeah. So it's real. And so in our own marriage, we haven't got to this magical trust state because we've clicked our fingers. I think we've built trust through the hard times and the good times, and then that gives you a secure foundation then to parent from that trust.
Well, and I think you figure out what trust is really about, because trust isn't really about everything working out, even the way that you say it, the way that you intend it. I think to really trust somebody is to trust who they are. So I might say, trust me, I know what to do with my kid, right? To Jessie, I know how to handle this situation. It might go awry.
Yeah.
But he can trust that I've done it because I love this kid. It doesn't mean just because something failed that I'm untrustworthy. So it's really redefining what trust is and let it be an ebb and flow situation, not it can't be static and rigid, because that's when it shatters. It's got to have a little bit of movement and flex in it. And switching that idea about trust around has really, because in church, trust and faith were very interlinked. You just had to believe, you couldn't question. And the fact that we question each other is a sign of our deep trust in each other, to me, because I can trust that I'm not going to get in trouble. I'm not going to get judged or blacklisted or whatever all of the things are. I'm not going to be thrown out of my belonging. I can trust that I can ask my question. And that, to me, is more valuable than trusting that he's always going to do what he says he's going to do, or the kid. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if I'm explaining myself.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think even like from the child perspective, like even that allows them, I don't think 100% trust in any situation is healthy. That's my opinion.
Exactly.
I think we were presented with like anything other than 100% trust in God is doubt. And so you get this like mentality of you can't question it, because then that means that I don't 100% trust God. And then that's replicated in faith-based families where the children have to 100% trust their parents and not question. And so I think it sort of harps back to, you know, the conversation that we had around like, how do you allow your kids to question you as well? And that in itself actually builds more trust anyway.
Trust, yeah.
Like the irony.
Exactly. It's like that. It's like that. And the more you're vulnerable with them, you don't have to be, I think, bringing down some of those like perfectionism ideas that fundamentalist Christianity breeds is really healthy for your parenting. They don't need to think that you're the best and the greatest and that you never get things wrong. It's actually really important for them to see you fail. It's really important for all of my children to see me cry, the boys and the girls to see me cry, and to know that crying is a normal regulating activity and not something that's a sign of weakness. Like being vulnerable with your kids and inviting them in on the journey only sets them up for, you know, good things in the future. I mean, of course, there's balance in that, and there's being age appropriate and all of that as well. We're all just doing the best we can with what we have. And so
when we fuck up, we say sorry to our kids. Like we acknowledge the mistake that we made and we say sorry. And I don't recall any of my parents ever saying sorry.
Like they may have, and
I just don't remember. But like I can't, like I've said sorry more times to my kids than I can remember my parents ever saying to me ever in my whole. And so, and then the swing or the blowback of that is, or the repercussion of that is, like our kids say sorry to us. Like literally, the eldest one sent a message this morning. He lost his cool a little bit, lost his shit with Liz, and on the way on the bus, he said, "Mum, I'm really sorry for this." And like, it's beautiful to experience and to see. It's not a power over, it's a power with situation with them. You're helping them grow into the human experience, if that makes sense.
And mirroring the accountability that just doesn't exist in those spaces, right? And you know, accountability is a layered thing in high control spaces.
Oh, very layered.
You know, the mirroring of that is I think probably like the beauty aspect of that as well. In the same way as like I asked you about like in the previous episode about like the joy and the great things that came from deconstructing, like what funny or beautiful or surprising moments came in being able to have more freedom and expansion in the way that you parented post church?
I just think realizing that it's going to sound silly, but they don't like, what am I trying to say? Kids aren't dumb.
Yeah.
And they're really insightful. And sometimes if you allow them space when you're in something, good things and bad things, their perspective can really help you shift your own perspective, can shine light on something. The amount of times one of the kids has just said something and it's made us all laugh hysterically and broken that.
Even like, I remember the kids came home from school, going to a Christian school, and I think it was the middle child. She wanted to say grace at dinner time.
Oh, this is one of my favorite stories.
And what did she say? Our Father, like she said, she wanted to say the Lord's Prayer for Grace over dinner.
But she sat in mudra, right? Like, and then said, "Our Father." No, what did she say?
Our Father in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
Hallowed be your name, not hallowed be your name. It's the hallowed be your
And
name.
it's just like breaking. It's like messing with your own. Like we were like unpacking our own dogma, and she helped us unpack our dogma even more. Do you know what I mean? Like it was beautiful.
You hear the cliche, your kids are your teachers, and they really are. Like, and they bring so much joy and wisdom to your life, as much as the questioning and all that can be annoying. They're companions on your journey with you, and what they have to give and experience alongside of you is a miracle. It's beautiful.
I've been listening to heaps of Ram Dass lately. Like I don't know if you know who Ram Dass is. He's like the
sounds like a fancy rum liquor, to be fair.
No, RAMDASS.
Oh,
Ram Dass.
Ram Dass.
You're so
Monday morning, and I'm already thinking about rum. That's a good start for my week.
Let's go.
And he was a professor of psychology at Stanford or Harvard or one of those, and started experimenting with psychedelics in the 70s, and realized how healing it could be, and then wanted that experience. So then he wanted to feel like he was open to the universe 24/7. So then he traveled to India and met a guru, and this guru, he gave the guru LSD, and it was like, didn't even do anything to him. He's like, oh, is that all it is? Like,
he's already connected.
And so he had this really big epiphany that if I start to sit under this guru, and he brought all of that teaching back to the West, and you can jump on YouTube and listen to a bunch of his lectures. They're unreal. They're so good. But he really,
where's I going with that? Kids.
I wanted to preface it so I didn't sound so. Where's this coming from?
You've been listening to Ram Dass lately,
and
where was I going? What were we talking about?
How your kids can be your teacher.
Oh, so he has this thing where he says everything is your guru. Like, and for me, this is where I was going. This is why I was going to sound weird if I didn't preface it with listening to Ram Dass. But literally, I think our souls choose this experience. My soul, the human experience, the highs and the lows, the ups and the downs, my soul has chosen Liz, and Liz's soul has chosen mine. And our souls have chosen our children, and our souls have chosen our parents. And if you open yourself up to that, then you get the fullness of that experience. And so
I just love Liz's face while you're talking about this.
She's
like, because I've always been very rigid and try and analytical and try and process the world through my mind. You know, and listening to Ram Dass is really opening up my heart so that I can. And this, finally. That's why.
God.
But also the whole choosing experience thing, I'm not quite on that page yet. But I understand what you're trying to say. Like, when you look at life as if this is
everything's a guru, like
everything is a teacher, and you really, the choice is about how you interact with your moments, and we have control over that choice. And
well, I mean, I'm not saying this. I'm not saying this as a silver bullet for every person, but my personal heaven experience in this life has come from waking up in the morning going, my soul chose this experience. I'm grateful for this experience, and I'm going to live in the fullness of the hurt and the joy. And appreciate it for what it is, so that.
Well, it makes your children, rather than being your minions. They become a really important part of the journey.
Like you said, companions. They become your companions, and you can see the the pushback we get from the youngest one, or the heartbreak we see, the heartbreak we see them have that we want to shelter them from. We can feel and experience and find meaning in, if that makes sense.
I'm going to ask this question because I know for so many families they had the hopes drilled into them for what they were supposed to hope for their kids, which is that they grow up and they serve the Lord, right? That they are good stewards of the church. And so what do you hope for your kids now? Like in September 2025, what do you hope for them?
Personally, I can speak for this really quickly because I just want them to be their truest selves. Like I want them. I think a successful human is a human that is true to itself. I think a true self-expression of any creation of this universe is it lives as free as it possibly can in the balance of the interconnection it has with all of creation. If that, I don't know how to articulate in a better way.
And like
they're
connection to
connected to
self,
their own
connection to
vitality.
the earth,
Yeah.
connection to other people. Yeah.
Same. I mean, I want my kids to be happy.
Yeah.
I want them to really enjoy their lives. I really want them to be able to fail and not be miserable about it. I want them to let themselves experience the full width and breadth of life. I just remember cutting myself off from so many experiences because I was afraid they'd make me a sinner, they'd excommunicate me from my community. I want them to make good, healthy choices for themselves, informed choices for themselves. I want them to be critically aware. I want them to question their government. I want them to be awake.
Liz, this is feeling like a sermon all of a sudden.
I know, sorry.
No.
I want so many good things for them. I don't care what they believe.
Yeah.
I think as long as they are being good to themselves and good to the people around them. I know plenty of Christians who are horrible, who are abusive, and their faith does not make them treat other people or themselves better. So faith is not the thing. Having a belief system.
There are Christians who are like that, and so it's like.
Yeah, but that's because they're connected to their vitality.
It's not the label that makes them that way.
Yeah, they've got a good sense of self. They've got a good sense of their own space in the world and of the space of other people.
Yeah.
And if they're just kind and connective for the rest of their lives, happy lady.
Yeah.
I will die a nonna in the hills making spaghetti with a smile on my face.
Beautiful. Okay. I sort of didn't really end the last episode the way I would usually, because obviously I knew this one, but also you kind of already answered it, which was beautifully done around the tips that I would always say, what would you say to someone who is navigating this freshly? And so in this space, what would you say to parents who are navigating their family, who are doing this really fresh in real time right now, that they are navigating the deconstruction storm at the moment? What is your number one tip for those families at the moment?
For me, I've just heard so many people in my own space on the practice co and in my circles, people who've had abusive and traumatic experiences in church. I think part of the gaslighting of those situations makes them want to keep their kids in that environment. And when you listen to them, they're saying, I've had this horrible experience in church, but my kids have got to stay in church. So one of the things that I always encourage people to do is listen to your own story and what has it taught you. I just knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that church is not somewhere I want my kids. I don't want the church to inform my kids' value systems or my kids' beliefs. And I don't necessarily think that a church is any safer than any other place for a child to grow up. Where they're going to learn the most, this is both freeing and terrifying, where they're going to learn the most about who they are and the world they live in is directly from you. And so whether you outsource that, and we all have to outsource to a certain degree, but when you can understand that putting them in a church environment or putting them in a Christian school or doing this and doing that isn't the silver bullet to keeping them safe, having a healthy connection with you where they can fail and succeed and still be loved in all of the environments in between, that's going to inform who they are and what they believe about the world more than anything. And I don't say that as a pressure thing, you better get it right. It's not about getting it right. It's about being present to them. And I think we don't give our kids enough credit. They're smarter. We think they don't know. They know Like, they know. If we didn't tell the kids about my dad or what we were experiencing in deconstruction, they've got ears, they've got eyes.
They've got their bodily sensations.
They pick up on, they know. And so honor their wisdom and learn to see that they're not just dumb little people. In fact, sometimes I think our children are more connected than we are because they haven't yet learnt not to be.
Yeah.
And so honoring them and their intelligence is a big piece of the journey.
I think, yeah, like, the other thing I would say is if you're fresh in deconstruction, imagine you're really sick, because what you've got is a lot of trauma going on and inside your body. You're not going to get up and go to work every day when you're really sick. You're not going to be this A-type personality in a traumatized state. So give yourself the grace to go through it. It's going to take some time to go through your body. It's going to take some time to work out in your marriage. It's going to take some time to work out with your kids. And the temptation will be to get it right now. Yeah. But you're not.
To keep it together in front of them.
Yeah.
But you're not. And so
I hope that you don't put that pressure on yourself. If you're listening to this right now, I hope that you don't put that pressure on yourself. And I hope that you give yourself the grace to move through it in the pace and the time that it takes you to move through it.
Yeah. The kids are going to be okay. And I think if they come to faith on their own terms, whatever kind of faith that is, and it's a choice that they've made, that is more powerful than any "you will believe this because you're in my house" situation. The kid that we mentioned before who said he was an atheist at 12 isn't now, because they've got the freedom to explore and be curious and to find connections on their own. So when you let kids, within context, make some of those connections themselves, it's actually more powerful for them than it is if they just have to ascribe to a set of beliefs.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you both so much for carving out such a chunk of time to chat to me, but also just for sharing so openly and vulnerably with everybody about yourselves, and also a little window into your family, which is beautiful. So thank you both so much.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Beyond the Surface. I hope you found today's conversation as insightful and inspiring as I did. If you enjoyed the episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with others who might benefit from these stories. Stay connected with us on social media for updates and more content. I love connecting with all of you. Remember, no matter where you are on your journey, you're not alone. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep moving forward. Take care.